All right, Salzy Show fans, hey, welcome back. The Salzy Show 2.0 today, live on location. We're back here at Ray's Corner, who is a Brookings Cubs sponsor of ours for the summertime. So instead of going out to the heat and hanging out in some dugout and sweating for this half hour, 45 minutes, whatever it is, the friendly confines of the party room at Ray's Corner. So maybe my new podcast host for the rest of the summer until it starts cooling down or something. I am Jason Salzman. Welcome back into the Salzy Show. Thanks for following along. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Will be fun today. We've got some Brookings Cubs news, Twins news, Byron Buxton news. We've got some WNBA stuff. And an update kind of on the Twins situation, on if they're going to be sold, if they're not going to be sold, what's happening with that. Robert Manfred, the commissioner of MLB, had a statement for that Twins possible sale. So we'll get into that a little bit. The first thing we need to do, though, is thank our exclusive presenter. Everything we do here in Sal's Media is brought to us by Bankstar Financial. With locations in Volga, Brookings, and Elkton, Bankstar provides big-time business with a small-town feel. Looking to finance a home? Need a car loan? How's your retirement plan looking? Stop in and chat with local professionals today. Bank on the bright side. Bankstar Financial, a proud sponsor of everything we do here on Sal's Media, along with the Brookings Cubs this summer. And in about 6 weeks, we'll fire it up with the Sioux Valley Cossacks as football and volleyball starts up the third week of August. So just, 5 weeks away now? Something like that. Oh, boy. So I'll have some updates on that as well. Kind of my schedule and how that's going to start working once we fire that high school season back up. I am the voice of the Sioux Valley Cossacks as well. So I'm excited, but maybe not quite ready yet, if that makes sense at all. We're going to start today with the Brookings Cubs, finally back at Bob Sheldon Field for the first time since June 19th. Almost a month, just because of cancellations, some rainouts. Things have been moved around, possibly getting some remakes in that, but they're kind of running out of time at the same moment. They've only got 5 scheduled games left of the regular season, and then they get into region play. And if you advance, then the state tournament starts up that second weekend of August. First week's at Aberdeen, second week's at Brandon. We'll see what the Cubs can do. A good win last night. It was a big third inning and a bigger seventh inning last night in a 17-hit barrage, and it was enough to get the job done. It was a 16-6 win over the Baltic River Dogs in 7 innings as they ruled them in the 7th. Chase McDaniel, 3 for 5 last night, 2 RBI, 3 runs scored. Isaac Bonner, he had an RBI. Chase Gibson, I don't want to get the names wrong. Colin Gibson, sorry. Henry Hamrick, he had 3 RBI. Miles Reese, Lincoln Vasgard, Arlen Peters, all had 2 hits. Henry Hamrick also struck out 7 in 4 2/3, but he earned a no decision last night, as I think it was tied when he left. It must have been tied when he left. But 7 strikeouts in 4 2/3. It was Tucker Wookie who picked up the win last night. He came in for the final 2 1/3 inning of relief. That moves the Brookings Cubs to 10-4 on their season. They're now 4-2 in Sioux Empire League play, so they are set up fairly well for a postseason run. There are 5 games left on the slate of the regular season. The next one coming up tomorrow night, Wednesday, at Bob Sheldon Field, as the Sioux Falls Brewers will come to town. You can watch that right here on YouTube on Saul's Media here, and we'll be live from the press box calling that game at 7:30 tomorrow night. So if you are not able to get to Bob Sheldon Field, then you can certainly watch it right here. So fun night last night for the Cubs as they played well. They had a lead early. I believe it came to tied at 6 at one point, maybe tied at 5 at one point. And then the Cubs took off in the 6th inning and especially the 7th inning as everyone who came to the plate scored. And they run rule the Baltic River Dogs in 7 innings. So a lot of fun last night. Good job to the Cubs. Congrats. And now 10-4 on their season, which is fantastic, man. Cubs are fun to watch. You should get out to Bob Sheldon Field. You just cheer on that squad, man. It's a younger squad than I think a lot of past Cubs teams have been. There's some kids that have USF connections. There's a couple of kids that have Southwest State out of Marshall connections. I think there's a kid or two that has SDSU baseball connections. So it's a younger squad, and they're all pretty talented and some good pitching at that same time. So Henry Hamrick, starting pitcher last night, pitched well, just ended up with just a tough outing at the finish. There was a conversation that was had, and then there was a 3-run home run that he allowed, and then he was done for the night. But it was Tucker Wookie, who, in his day job is an assistant men's basketball coach for SDSU now. He was able to come in for the last 2 1/3 innings and get the win as the Cubs took care of that. So tomorrow night, 7:30, Bob Sheldon Field, the Cubs take on the Sioux Falls Brewers. Should I get into the rest of their schedule? We can. I was just thinking that I should tell you about those last 5, and I've got it right here if I can get to it quickly enough. Tomorrow night, Sioux Falls Brewers in town on the 19th, which is Saturday night. That's a 7 o'clock affair. The Laverne Redbirds come to town. And then they're going to do 2 out of 3 on the road. The 20th, which is Sunday, we'll be down at Renner to play the Monarchs down there. Next week on the 22nd, which I believe is on Tuesday, the Harrisburg Woodies come to town, maybe the best team in Class A at the moment. Class A amateur baseball here in South Dakota. And then on the 24th, which I believe is next Thursday, we go down to Harrisburg to finish off the regular season. As far as I know, I haven't received any text of any postponements getting rescheduled or anything like that, so I don't think there's more games in the regular season than those 5 right there. So 3 games at home, 2 on the road, 1 to Renner, 1 to Harrisburg. So should be a lot of fun. After that, the North Districts, August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, those are here in Brookings at Bob Sheldon Field. Then the state tournament is on the 8th, 9th, and 10th of August. That first weekend is in Aberdeen. And then the championship weekend, August 15, 16, and 17, that's down in Brandon. So that's the slate for the Brookings Cubs. It's been a fun summer. There's your chances to see them before they head to the playoffs coming up at the beginning of August. It was a big night last night for Byron Buxton and the Minnesota Twins. And I do have some updates on sales that I was telling you about. But first off, it was Byron Buxton who hit 20 home runs in the first round of that home run derby last night. This is all part of the All-Star festivities that are down in Atlanta. Truist Field, I believe is what they call it. They used to have a Turner Field down there. It used to be Fulton County Stadium down there, and they shared that with the Falcons. But it's Truist Field now. A beautiful place, a beautiful ballpark. It was fun to see the highlights. Once we got done with the Cubs game, I came down and partook and had conversations with some buddies that were, watching it down at the Wild Hare, and just saw some of those highlights and Byron Buxton's shots that were long enough, man. 20 home runs in that first round. That is the most ever by a Twin that has participated in the home run derby. Justin Morneau is probably the most famous one. He actually got a win in 2008, and that was at Yankee Stadium by just outlasting Josh Hamilton of the Rangers, who had this huge opening round of 30 or 40 home runs that he hit, and then he just kind of wore himself out. Morneau maintained and was able to take him out in the final round. So Morneau gets a home run derby championship out of that, but he did not get to 20 home runs in any of those rounds. So now Byron Buxton has set a record for the Twins that have participated in the Derby, the most ever in a single round, 20 home runs. Then he got beat 8-7 in the semifinal round, and then was eliminated with that. But for Byron Buxton, for the Twins, it was a big night. And Byron will be joined by fellow teammates, starting pitcher Joe Ryan. They're both in the All-Star game. Joe Ryan was a late addition, as he was an injury replacement, and that does happen all the time in baseball. It happens all the time in all of the All-Star games. Guys that are just a little bit banged up want to be an All-Star but don't want to play in the All-Star game to try to heal up a little bit. That's what gets Joe Ryan there. He should have been voted on anyway. He was kind of a snub. But Joe Ryan and Byron Buxton, the two Twins that get to represent Minnesota Twins in the All-Star game tonight. That's a 7 o'clock affair tonight on Fox, I believe, live from Atlanta. And we'll get to see Byron Buxton, who is a reserve center fielder. Joe Ryan is a reserve pitcher, so they'll put him in whenever they can put him in, I guess. Or they won't. One way or the other. They both get to be there, though. A lot of fun. A fun story, and I shared this on the broadcast last night, and I was having audio problems last night at the Cubs game, so I apologize if you can't hear everything there if you were watching. A fun story for my All-Star experiences. I have a buddy that used to have a father down in Phoenix. He's now passed. But we would go down in, July, August, because that was easier for us to both have like 5, 6, 7 straight days off from our jobs. So we would go down and hang out with his father in the backyard. He had a pool, so we were hanging by the pool. We were, just hanging out in Phoenix when it was 105, 110 degrees all the time in July and August. Not the best weather time to go to Phoenix, but we still had a lot of fun. We would always go to Diamondback games as well because his father was a huge Diamondbacks fan, so we'd take him, and we would always sit at the second level because it was easier for his father to get in and out of that stadium. Comfortable seating. We had restaurants up there, a couple of bars up there as well. It was always a great experience. So that's leading up to my All-Star game experience with this family, as we kind of talked ourselves into becoming season ticket holders for the Diamondbacks. We got a couple of seats out in left field in the bleachers out there. And the reason we did that is Chase Field down at Phoenix was going to host the All-Star game in 2011. So we got season tickets. Part of the season ticket package, it gives you first right to purchase those seats for the All-Star game experience. So that's why we did it. We obviously didn't go to Phoenix all the time. We were selling those season tickets as the season was going on to try to make up for some of that money, but it gave you the option to purchase your seats and the package for the All-Star game. So we did that. 2011, we were hanging out in the left field bleachers through the home run derby, through the Futures game, the celebrity softball game, and then the All-Star game on that Tuesday night. And it was absolutely incredible. I thank the Pace family for letting me come along and be part of that. Hanging by the pool, catching up on baseball, and just having a good time for a week in Phoenix. But that All-Star game was the only time that I ever saw Derek Jeter play. I never got to a Twins game where the Yankees were in town. It was the only time I've ever seen Derek Jeter play. So I was pretty proud of that. It was fun. It was fantastic. I think I want to say the American League won that because the American League has won a lot of those All-Star games going up into the last couple of years where the National League's starting to equal out a little bit. But what an experience. A lot of fun. For the home run derby, we were in the left field bleachers thinking that we would have a great opportunity to maybe catch a home run ball. And a couple of them came close to where we were. And then in the final 2 rounds, it was more left-handed hitters than anything else. So all the home runs went out to right field. So it didn't work out the way we wanted it. We did not get a home run ball, but still an incredible experience in 2011, being part of the All-Star Game festivities and the All-Star Game weekend. Just incredible. Phoenix was buzzing downtown. That's where Chase Field is. Just a lot of people, a lot of fans. A lot of hoopla down there, a lot of parties going on. It was a great time. And I wish I would have done that when the All-Star Game was at Target Field as well, but by then, situations had changed. We didn't have a pool in the backyard to go hang out. That would have been much more expensive. The season tickets, not so much. But, now you're staying in the cities through those 4 days. All the hotel rooms would have been jacked up by all sorts of prices. It would have just been a lot more expensive to do it at Target Field, so we never pulled it off. That's the way it goes. But still, my time in 2011 at Chase Field for the All-Star Game was just incredible. So, if you're a fan, maybe you're a Braves fan, maybe someone did the same thing that we're doing, buying those season tickets for just one season just to be a part of the All-Star Game festivities. It was a lot of fun. That is my All-Star Game talk. I won't bore you anymore with that. You can see some of the sponsors in the corner of the screen there. Those are all the Brookings Cubs sponsors for the summer. So thank you to all of those. It's GP Auto, it's Brookings Vision Center, Race Corner, now hosting a podcast as well. Scoops and Loops, Brookings Engraving, Hometown Tire. We can also thank the Man Cave Barbershop, Back Alley Meats, and Nick's Hamburgers, all proud sponsors of everything we do here on Salz Media, and the Brookings Cubs. And a lot of those same sponsors are going to be part of the Sioux Valley Athletics once we start that up in about 5 weeks, which is a little bit insane that we're that close to high school sports already. Just to scare you a little more, I think there's an NFL exhibition game. I think the Hall of Fame game is at the end of the month, like the 30th or 31st of July. First NFL game of the preseason. Fires up, man. It's crazy how fast the summer rolls by, but it certainly does. So that is a little bit of our Twins talk, our All-Star game tonight, 7 o'clock on Fox. Watch that. We can move on to the WNBA. The Lynx got a win last night, taking out the Chicago Sky. Angel Reese, I believe, had 22 and 10, so she had another double-double last night, but it was Nafisha Collier and Courtney Williams who starred for the Minnesota Lynx, and they get a nice win on the road in Chicago. That was after losing to Chicago over the weekend, so they get a little revenge there. Fastest in the league's history to get to 1,000 points and 500 assists. Sue Bird, it only took her 82 games. Sabrina Ionescu, two names that you should be familiar with in women's basketball. Took Sabrina 84 games, and the reason I'm bringing that up is Caitlin Clark has played 52 games in the W, and she's at 969 points and 445 assists. So it's only going to take her, if she stays on her averages, 6 or 7 more games to get the assist number to 500. She's only 31 points away from 1,000 already, so she is going to destroy those marks of 82 and 84 games by Sue Bird and Sabrina Ionescu. Caitlin Clark, man, something special with the Indiana Fever. Now healthy again and back on the court. She had to deal with a groin injury. I believe she had a quad injury earlier this season, so she has sat out a little bit, including the Commissioner's Cup that the Indiana Fever came to the Target Center and beat up on my Lynx. So Caitlin Clark, very quickly going to add her name to the list of fastest to 1,000 points and 500 assists, and do it a lot faster than anyone has ever done it. That's Caitlin Clark's game. She can score from anywhere, but she can dish at the same time. She had a nice weekend as well. So to bring it around to the Lynx, let's do this. Let's get a box score up for those Minnesota Lynx from last night. If ESPN will help me out. They're trying to. Scores, WNBA, last night, and Lynx get a 91-78 victory over the Chicago Sky. Box score, there we go. So Nafisha Collier goes 29 points. She had 5 assists, 3 rebounds. She was 7 of 14 from the field, 4 of 7 from deep, and added a bunch of free throws on that as well. And I mentioned Courtney Williams. She had 18, 7 assists, 8 rebounds. I think she had steals and blocks at the same time. So those two have both had very good nights. I think it's Kayla McBride. She had 17 last night. Carlton had 11. Just a nice team effort by those Minnesota Lynx. That moves them to 19-4 on their season now. By far the best record in the W, as they call it. Let me get you some standings here. Minnesota now 19-4. Phoenix second in the West. They're 3 games back at 15-6. Seattle is 13-9. They're 5.5 games back. On the Eastern side of things, it's the New York Liberty leading the East. They're at 14-6 as well. Atlanta 12-9 on their season, and the Indiana Fever 11-10. So Caitlin Clark and friends, they did some losing when Caitlin wasn't in that lineup. Shocker there, but they're 11-10 on their season. So. Still making playoff push type of things. At 14-6, they're halfway. A little over halfway. They play 40 games in the regular season WNBA, so they're about halfway through that season, and then they'll get into playoffs after that. Probably, September-ish? I want to say their playoffs fire up, but the Minnesota Lynx put themselves in a great spot. Now, these Minnesota Lynx, they do have 4 banners hanging in Target Center for their championships that they have won. They should have gotten a 5th last year. Ended up losing that Game 5 decision game in New York to the Liberty, which gave Liberty the crown last year. But the Minnesota Lynx in a position where they can make a run at it again, so at 19-4. So congrats to the Minnesota Lynx. Those Twins, we're not going to worry about the Twins. I mean, I guess I can give you an update on where they're going to be, what they have coming off of their All-Star break for the rest of the squad. They're going to go out to Colorado, so they should being the key word, should get 3 wins in Colorado over the weekend. The Rockies are being historically bad. And we said that last year about the Chicago White Sox, who were historically bad. And the Colorado Rockies this season are on pace to destroy that mark of futility, as the Rockies are now 22-74 at the break. That is god-awful. The Twins 47-49 as they head into the break. They did have a nice weekend. Byron Buxton, as we mentioned him with a home run derby last night, hit for the cycle on Saturday. On his own bobblehead day, he hits for the cycle. Just absolutely amazing. I think he had 5 hits on the day, but did enough to hit for the cycle. He's the first cycle in a Twins uniform at Target Field. He became I had all these numbers and I had all these stories. He's like the 13th Twin to pull it off. The first one since Polanco did it a few years ago. But Byron Buxton, man, having a career season. And look, as I said on the broadcast last night with the Cubs, that this is the Byron Buxton that we've been waiting for. It's been 10 years in the making of him finally being healthy enough to play. And I used to say it on the radio show when we did that. I would be talking to Scoop on his show. When he's healthy, he is an MVP candidate. That's the type of player he can be. And at the moment, he's on pace to be a 30-30 man in a Twins uniform. He'd be the first Twin to ever do that. 30-30 is a big deal. Not only is that hitting for power, but you're stealing bases at the same moment. You think of like Jose Canseco that became a 30-30 guy. He may have been a 40-40 man as well. Barry Bonds did 40-40. Those are ridiculous numbers. So the Twins, who've had a lot of home run hitters throughout their franchise history, they've also had base stealers, but not the combo of it. They've never had a guy go for 30-30. And Buxton is sitting at 21 home runs right now at the break. He's got 17 stolen bases at the break, so it's within distance. He can get there just by staying healthy. And you shouldn't have to say that about a player every day, but you do with Byron Buxton. It's been 10 years in the making trying to get him to this spot right here to be an MVP conversation guy. And he was just hurt all the time. And when you're hurt all the time, you're not producing. And it's there's so many seasons where, maybe 100 games was the most he ever did. He's healthy at the moment. After dealing with the hip injuries and the knee injuries and fighting himself out of that stuff, there was a gasp at Target Field on Friday in the first inning because he took a pitch to the wrist. And they were very worried. They let him go another half inning, I think, and then finally took him out as a precaution. Turns out he was just fine. The x-rays were negative. He was okay. He wanted to get back in there on Saturday, and then he blows up and hits for the cycle on Saturday. So he's fine. 20 home runs last night in the first round, gets to semifinals of that home run derby, and then gets eliminated from there. So hopefully he has a good all-star game tonight. But a healthy Byron Buxton is a game-changer Byron Buxton. He should be the starting center fielder, and if he played on either one of the coasts where all the media are in this country, he would be the starting center fielder. But since he is in lowly Minnesota, and they're that's a losing record at 47-49, he doesn't get talked about because he's a Minnesota Twin, and they're, third or fourth in the division? Let me get the standings up. I mean, other than that 13-game win streak, these Twins have been bad, man. It's been a tough season other than Byron Buxton becoming an all-star. Man, 47-49 right now. They're second in the division, 11 and a half games back of the Detroit Tigers, best record in baseball, by the way, at 59-38. So they're second in the division, a half game up on the Royals, half game up on the Cleveland Guardians. So there's kind of a three-way tie for that second place right there, and they'll battle it out. But they're so far back in their own division that's the only way they're going to get to go. I don't even think they would have to go on quite a tear just to get to that third wild card spot, as it's the Yankees, the Red Sox, and the Mariners that own those wild card spots at the moment. Twins are 4 games back of the wild card, just to get to that third wild card spot, 4 games back. Now, I get that there's, 2.5 months of season left to go, but it's not like it becomes an easy road for the Twins. They just kind of went through an easy row and didn't win all of them. They won 2 out of 3 against the Pirates. I think it was 2 out of 3 against the Cubs, which was nice to do. Cubs are one of the best teams in the NL Central. who was the other team? The Rays, I think, were in there or something like that, and the Rays are not very good either. So I don't know, man. They're just so far back of everything. They're going to have to win their division if they want to go to the playoffs, unless they go on a tear and try to catch the Yankees and the Red Sox. And even if you get to the postseason in that, their pitching can't match up with those teams and what they're doing because, as I've crabbed about on this podcast, it's an ownership thing. There's some of it that goes to the manager, Rocco. We can question how he manages from time to time. It's all analytics with him. He's always playing the numbers game. He doesn't go with his gut. He doesn't go with hunches or anything like that. It's always numbers. The third time through the lineup for a starting pitcher means trouble for the starting pitcher, and he lives by that. So there's decisions that Rocco makes that you can question, but he's handcuffed. The GM, the president of baseball operations, are all handcuffed by an ownership team that refuses to infuse money into the roster. And part of that is dealing with the sale that is going on right now. I think it was Ishaba who decided not to take the Twins over as a franchise and buy the franchise at the $1.5 billion mark or something, whatever it was. He decides to go back to his Chicago roots where he already had kind of a small percentage in what the White Sox were doing. He's going to take over the majority percentage of the White Sox and turn them around is his plan. But his first initial thought was to be with the Twins. And, he started his, franchise love in Phoenix. I think he's part of the Suns, part of the Phoenix Mercury. He may have been part of the hockey team that moved out. So he looks at all of the things that were going on with the Minnesota Twins, and he saw that the Pohlads, the ownership family that owns the Twins, took out a $450 million loan against the Twins to pay for their commercial real estate holdings that have not gone well. So because they're bad businessmen, they don't put money into the Twins because now they owe the Twins $450 million. That's also a tough way to sell the team because whoever purchases that has to take on that loan at the same time. And now that's where this story comes in, okay? So this is MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred. He says bidders to buy Twins have backed off when it became evident that Justin Ishbia was the leader in the clubhouse. But now that he is moved on to the Chicago White Sox, Manfred says that he is confident that a transaction will take place presumably soon. MLB is also guaranteeing the loan. So whoever does purchase the Twins at whatever price gets negotiated, that $450 million is going to be backed by the MLB now just to make the sale happen. It's ridiculous that has to happen at that type of level. These are billionaires playing with money, and someone's worried about the $450 million loan that's against the Twins. But in the Pohlad scenario, every other owner of a professional franchise, especially in the NFL, but all the other baseball owners, the basketball owners, the hockey guys, owning a professional franchise is supposed to be the luxury business. It's the fun money. It's the play money. I get to own a baseball team. Are you kidding me? Let's have a lot of fun with this. And the Pohlads just don't do that. After the Twins 2 seasons ago, maybe it's 3 seasons ago now, whatever, I think it's 2 seasons ago, they finally win their first playoff series in the postseason in 20 years. They finally break through, get to the next level of the playoffs. They have this lineup. They have starting pitching that was good. And the first thing they did in that offseason going into the next season was drop payroll. What are you doing? And now you find out it's because that their own commercial real estate deals have not gone the way that they want to. They had to take a loan out against the Twins. These are all the things that we're finding out now of how bad the Pohlads have run this franchise. That's why it's hard to be a Twins fan. So at 47 and 49 at the break, I don't know if I should be excited or not. And I just feel like they're just going to run out of gas because every other team has a lot more pieces in place than what the Twins do. Their starting pitching has been rocky at best. They still don't have a decent hitting top of the lineup. Carlos Correa has been bad this year, and that's way off of any of the averages he's done throughout his MLB career. I should have saved it. There was one of the Twins Daily guys. You know, they write on Twitter all the time and do the podcasting and do the blogs. They graded each player on that Twins roster, and they gave Carlos Correa an F, and it's deserved. He's been good in the field. He always is. But his job at the plate is to be the RBI guy, to be the average guy. Hit your 280, hit your 25, 30 home runs, drive in 80 runs, and he's nowhere close to any part of those. Carlos Correa, being the wily veteran that we need him to be, is not playing his role. The starting pitching has been rocky. Their bullpen has been good lately, but they've had their moments. They've got a closer that is fun to watch, but it's rocky from time to time. It's just a lineup that doesn't hit on a regular basis. You could see that in the last month leading up to this All-Star break, that I think they went through one weekend in a series where they scored 6 runs all weekend. You can't win baseball games like that, which is why they're 47-49. They just had a push to get to 47-49. Otherwise, they'd be 5 games under 500 right now. So the Twins, they started up on Friday, head out to Colorado for 3 games out there, and I don't know, see what happens. It's absolutely crazy. As far as Byron Buxton goes, more news on Buxton because there is a trade deadline coming up at the end of the month. This is Buxton's quotes from the All-Star Game festivities. So, quote, Byron Buxton, "I've got a no-trade clause. I'm a Minnesota Twin for the rest of my life," Buxton says without hesitation. "That's the best feeling in the world, knowing when I walk into the clubhouse every day, it's going to say Twins. I love Minnesota. That's home." And the reporter said, "Home? Like home?" And Buxton answered, "It is. Baxley is where I'm from, and I go back every offseason, Baxley, Georgia. Once our season is over, I'll be back there, back home. But I don't want to play anywhere else. The team, the people, the city that made me who I am and made me a part of it there, that's home too," referring to Minneapolis and Target Field. So that no trade clause is going to be a thing. And I brought it up in the last episode that deal that he signed was a very franchise-friendly deal. It does make Buxton a lot of money, but not all-star money. And it's because of those injury problems that he had. So this is a very Twins-friendly deal that Byron Buxton has. He's happy with it, knowing the injury history that he's had. He was more than willing to sign a long-term deal for a lot less money than he probably could have made on the market. But when he signed that extension, that long-term deal that he did, he was coming off of knee injuries and hips injuries and 2 knee surgeries to fix things. So he has a deal in place that is long-term with a no-trade clause. But it's a Twins-friendly deal. He could be making a lot more money, probably double of what he's doing right now with any other franchise in the league, especially playing the way he is right now. But it's the injury history problems that is holding him back as far as making wowzers money in Major League Baseball. So he says he's going to be a Twin for life, and I'm okay with it. This is the Byron Buxton we've been looking for 10 years, much like I said at the beginning of the show here. We've been waiting for this guy to show up. I think that's about it for today. I just wanted to throw out some of the All-Star stuff. Cal Raleigh, who ended up winning that home run derby last night, he's got 38 home runs at the All-Star break. A list of players with 38 home runs or more at the break. Barry Bonds in 2001 had 39 home runs at the break. That was part of, steroid era baseball. And then there's Cal Raleigh in 2025 at 38 home runs, and that's it. Barry Bonds is the only guy that has had more home runs at the break than Cal Raleigh, the catcher for the Seattle Mariners. 38 home runs at the break, and he ended up winning the Derby last night, which is kind of cool. He had his father throwing to him. He had his little brother catching for him. Kind of a cool story. So check that out on ESPN at whatever time you can find that today. I'm going to add this and close up the show with this. In 2025, pitchers in Major League Baseball almost no complete games. It's not a thing anymore. Just ask Rocco Baldelli of how he does it. The third time through the lineup is always a worry for starting pitching. He doesn't like his starters to get to that 80-pitch, 90-pitch, 100-pitch mark and be in trouble at the same time, so he typically pulls his guys. So does everyone else in the league, the analytics game that they play. 1919, a man by the name of Ray Caldwell with the Cleveland Indians was struck by lightning in the 9th inning on August 24th, 1919. He finished the game after they revived him. I can't believe that. 17 days later, he would pitch a no-hitter at New York. He won 20 games for the 1920 world champion Indians. But on August 24th of 1919, he was struck by lightning while playing. They revived him, and then he finished the game. So, a message to starting pitchers in today's baseball. There's a lot tougher guys than you guys out there. And Ray Caldwell is certainly one of them. That's how we're going to end it today. Cubs tomorrow night at Bob Sheldon Field, 7:30 with the Sioux Falls Brewers in town. All-Star game tonight, 7 o'clock on Fox. And then the Twins head off to Colorado for the weekend. The Minnesota Lynx, I should have given you an update on their schedule as well, but they're taking care of business on a regular basis. So look up on ESPN what the Minnesota Lynx are doing. You can also go to their website, obviously, but I should have given you an update. And I've already closed everything out, so that's going to do it for today. Ray's Corner, the party room of Ray's Corner. They're a sponsor for the Cubs in my broadcasts on Salz Media for the summertime, so why not? Come down here, give a little shout out to Ray's Corner. They had a nice weekend. We all survived the Brookings Arts Festival. They had nice crowds in here of people just trying to cool down a little bit. And, always a big sponsor of the military around here, disabled veterans. They're always doing things on poker runs for those things. Ray's Corner, big fan of our military and the veterans. So shout out to Ray's. Thank you for being a sponsor of these Salz Media events, this podcast, and the Brookings Cubs through the summertime. That's going to do it. That's a Tuesday. Have fun watching the All-Star game tonight. And tune in to the Brookings Cubs tomorrow night, 7:30, live from Bob Sheldon Field. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll be back in another podcast probably this weekend, I would imagine. I have a weekend off from my regular job at Bell Brands. So thank you, Bell Brands, another big sponsor out for us. So another podcast over the weekend. I'm going to try to do some golfing over the weekend, take advantage of whatever weather we have. Hopefully it's not raining on my off weekend. It can rain while I'm at work, just not when I'm not working. Don't rain when I'm not working. That's fair. That's not fair. That's going to do it for Tuesday. Thanks for watching, everybody. Peace out.